All right, welcome everybody to lesson number 2 on the computer. And this one should be kind of a fun one. It's estimating with percents. Some of it can be a little bit tricky, but we tried to have a little fun with it. So hopefully you enjoy. So should have a pencil out in front of you, should have your notes out in front of you, and it would not hurt to have a calculator. So if you need to, put it on pause, make sure you have writing utensil, notes, and calculator. All right, here we go. We are going to be estimating sales tax. Now, for those of you that may be wondering, what is sales tax? Basically, the state of Minnesota decides that to pay for roads, to pay for lots of things that they provide for us, they have this tax. So a part of your sales tax pays for certain things, and every time you buy something, a percent of the money a percent of the cost you're charged. Let me back up. You are charged a percent of the amount of money the item costs, and then that percentage of money goes to the state of Minnesota or the city of Duluth or the federal government to help pay for things. And this is one of the taxes that when you get older, you will pay. Actually, you pay it now. If you've ever bought anything, you've paid taxes. And if you ever go to the dollar store, you know what tax is because nothing in there actually costs $1. It costs $1.07. And that 7 or actually 8 cents is the tax that you are paying. So here we go. Now, you may not have known this, but Tanner went out and got himself a nice, hip happening, cool new sweater. And that sweater cost him $19.99. He's never looked nicer. The sales tax rate at the place he bought it is 7%. We want to estimate the sales tax and the total cost. Well, we can figure this out because your sales tax is you multiply whatever you bought times your tax rate, and the tax rate in this case is 7%. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. Tax rate is 7%. So to do this, we multiply the tax rate, but in order to do that, we have to write it as a decimal. So to write 7% as a decimal, to write the percent as a decimal, we move our decimal 2 places to the left. Well, in this case, we've got a blank space, so we fill it with a 0. So 7% we write as, that's a decimal, a very messy one, 0.07 or 7 hundredths. And if you think about that, that makes sense because 7% means 7 out of 100. So as a decimal, it would be 7 hundredths. And then we multiply that times 19.99. Here's where the estimating comes in. You see this on prices all the time. It's, a new car isn't $9,000. It's $8,999.99. Well, this is only 1 penny away from $20, so we're going to call this $20. Now, this is written kind of messily, but what this really says is 7 hundredths times $20. If you need your calculator, get your calculator out, but we know that 7 times 2 is 14, and since 20 has a 0, we put a 0 after it, and since we had 2 decimal places in the problem, we need 2 decimal places in our answer, which means that our tax is going to be about oh my goodness, I'm going to grab the eraser on that one. That one got away from me. Our tax is about $1.40. So if our sweater was originally $20 and we're paying $1.40, Tanner is walking out of that store in his sharp new outfit for $21.40. So just to review, turn your percent to a decimal by moving it 2 places to the left and multiply that times your amount, in this case, $20. If you need to, put it on pause, get this written down, and then we're ready for our next one. Alrighty. Now, for this one, if you've ever been out to eat at a restaurant other than like McDonald's, Subway's, place like that, but if you are ever at a restaurant where somebody brings the food to you, typically it's good manners, customary, kind of expected that you tip the person that brings you the food. Oftentimes, we call that person the server. And so you don't look like kind of the world's biggest nerd and have to pull out a calculator when you're on that first date, I am going to teach you a great way to estimate finding a tip so that there is a chance you might actually have a second date. So here's how this works. First step, round total to the nearest dollar. So our total is $17.85. That's not a fun amount to kind of estimate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round it to the nearest dollar. Is it closer to $17 or $18? Well, I see it's 85 cents. That's pretty close to another whole dollar. So I'm going to call this $18. So if you are sitting at the restaurant, either with your buddies or whomever, you've got your bill, it's $17.85. Don't break out your cell phone. Don't break out your calculator. Round it to the nearest dollar. So think in your head, all right, $18. Now, 15% happens to just be a cool way you can think of 15% is really 10% plus 5%. And we're going to break it out like this. We're breaking this out because 10% is a really easy amount. To find 10% of the bill, we just divide by 10. Because if you think about it, there are 10 tens in 100. So 10% is 1/10. So we just divide by 10. So 18 divided by 10, all that really means is we're moving the decimal one place to the left. So that actually works out to be $1.80. So 10% of our bill is $1.80. We've now figured out this much of our tip. So far, we're leaving $1.80, but we're not just leaving a 10% tip. We have to leave 15%, so we got to find another 5%. Well, here's what's cool about this. We already know 10%. 10% is this much. It's $1.80. Now, to find 5%, 5 is half of 10. So 5% is half of whatever 10% was. Did you follow that? So if we know this is 10%, half of that, we just divide it by 2. $1.80 divided by 2, 90 cents. Because 90 plus 90 is $1.80. We put that all together. So this is our 10%. Here's our 5%. Put it all together to $2.70. We just add them all together. That is our 15%. So as you're getting up to leave, you pay your bill of $17.85, and you can leave a couple of dollar bills and maybe 3/4, or if you really want to get it right on the nose, leave $2 and actually 70 cents for the person that brought you your food. That is how you can calculate a tip without any calculator, any cell phone, and your friends or your date won't look at you like you're crazy. For our final example, I think all of these examples have been great just because you can use them anytime you're buying something, but I always like to buy stuff on sale. And a lot of times they say, oh, on sale, 30% off. Well, what does that really mean? I am going to teach you. So estimating a sale price. If you want to go out and get the latest and greatest home entertainment center like the one you see pictured here, it's on sale at 30% off the regular price. If the regular price is $400.99, estimate the sale price. So here's where it can get tricky. Well, it's 30% off. What does that mean? Well, if it's 30% off, here's what it really means, is that it's regular price $499.99. that is 100% of the price. So if it were on sale for 0% off, this is what you pay, the actual price, $499.99. But it's on sale for 30% off. So if we take away 30% of the price, that's a zero. If we take away 30%, the percent you're actually paying is 70%. So what that means is we want to find out, well, what is 70% of $499? Well, what we can do is we can say, all right, $499.99, you're not fooling us. We're smart enough to know that's basically $500. And so we want to find 70% of that. So we take our $500 and convert 70% to a decimal. Well, how do I do that? I take 70 and I move my decimal 2 places to the left. It now becomes 0.7. So this is 500 times 0.7. You can use your calculator. 500 times 0.7. And this sweet, brand new, state-of-the-art entertainment system on sale, 30% off, is only going to cost you $350. So the key to all of this, if it's telling you what is your percent off, figure out what percent are you actually paying. In this case, it's 30% off. So we take 30% away from 100. We're actually only paying 70%. Multiply what it costs times 70% as a decimal. Then that'll tell you what you are actually paying. Piece of cake. Here is your homework. And what I'm going to do for you today is I'm posting your homework a little bit differently. It still should show up in your notifications box at the top of Edmodo as an assignment. But this time I'm posting it as you're going to be looking at a page that looks just like your math book. And it should be up there for you to see. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work, but we're going to give it a try this way today. So I would take out your planner. Choose. If this seemed really easy and it made a ton of sense, push yourself. Do these advanced problems. Kind of stretch your brain out a little bit. If you're kind of looking at this going, whoa, I was barely hanging on here, then do the basic problems. That's totally fine. But pick one of these problem sets, whichever one you want, write it down in your planner, then you can go to Edmodo and you should be able to answer the problems through Edmodo. If you need help, raise your hand. I can help you with it. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.